Good morning, KOTA territory. We are here today joined by Dr. Scyller Borglum, the author of STEM Study Habits, Successfully Navigate Math, Science, Engineering, and Life for Your Degree. So this is part of our new segment. It is KOTA Territory Author Spotlight. And the goal of this segment is to try to highlight some of the regional artists.
In a way, yes, absolutely.
But regional authors, and kind of see, what their mission is, what their goal is with the literature they produce. So kind of starting off, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Okay. I'm doing well. Probably short a cup of coffee, but that might be better for everyone that I'm not bouncing off the walls this morning.
It's okay, because I'm on a cup of coffee and I'm everywhere right now. So you've seen that.
Yes, indeed.
So kind of, starting off, let's get right into your book. So what gave you the idea to make a book based off what some consider to be a difficult topic, or difficult topics, STEM, the STEM field? What prompted you to kind of come up with the book or make the book?
Absolutely. Humberto, that is a great question, and thank you for having me. This is a tremendous honor, and with school starting in particular in just under a month already, I don't know how we got there that fast.
Time flies, right?
Right? People I saw in your segment this morning were starting to look at purchasing supplies for school, backpacks, pens, pencils, paper, and I will tell you, it's that mindset of going back to school and gearing up that really got me into putting this book together. And the reason I wrote it is when I started back to school, and I'm a second career engineer, I went back at 32, I looked for a book to give me the how-to. Now, certainly there are life habits that I already knew, that I'd already established, but there are certain mechanics of how do you do your math homework effectively? How do you do your science homework effectively? How do you study for an exam effectively? What about lab reports? What about homework assignments? And I wrote the book that I wished somebody else had written because I needed it when I went back to school.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, I mean, the quote here in the back, I did great in high school. Why am I failing in college?
Yes. That is the number one comment I get from students and their parents. Yes.
Right. And I mean, so why? I mean, let's go on that question. I mean, or let's go on off that quote. I mean, why is that? Why do some students, do amazing in high school? They get really good grades. They're in all these advanced courses, but then when it comes to college, they start to fall back. Why is that?
So that's a very common phenomenon, and part of it, I think, is because this book is written for the 80%, right? The top 10% who already have those study habits locked in. There are other good things in this book for you, but your study habits you're solid on, right? And then maybe the bottom 10%, maybe they're just not interested in school at all, and this is not going to be their thing. Maybe they want to get in and do a trade degree. More power to you. We need you as well, right? But that middle 80% who's going back and forth deciding, well, do I want to do this or not? The problem that I've seen is that students coming through high school, they're basically pretty smart. They have great memory recall. They show up for class. They can reason their way through the exams or the homework problems. Hurry up and crank it out, right? But when you get to college and you are taking on a 4 or 5 year STEM degree, it's a tsunami of material, and you have more open space in your calendar than you've ever had before, and you show up, and the first week is what I call syllabus week. Typically, that's when your professors will hand out your syllabus or your syllabi of multiple courses, and so you have this false sense of security, and then all of a sudden, you apply those same hurry up or stay up the night before and assume you can study and get it all in for that exam, and then you come back with a grade you've never seen in your life.
I will. Well, I can tell you right now, the second quote I'm seeing here is, "I can't do this." That is the same exact quote I had when I was in college.
No kidding.
I know, like you said, it's kind of setting up those good study habits and whatnot. I know for a fact that, personally, from personal experience, I was one of those students that 100% had went into college from high school thinking this is going to be a piece of cake. Let me tell you, it's not.
No, it is not.
It's a game changer. So, I mean, talk a little bit more about the the audience you'd like to read. Is this specifically only for students, or can adults, parents, who can pick up this book and maybe learn a little bit about those study habits, or maybe learn how they can pass on those study habits to their friends, family, whomever.
Fabulous. The book is written honestly for any kind of student. So even though your particular discipline would not be considered STEM, everything in here is translatable, right? But you have to draw some boundaries when you're putting your product out there. So
Exactly.
so I come from STEM. I know that our country needs STEM, so that's why I went with this. Anybody can pick up this book. A parent certainly can and will know how to best support their student. Students can pick up the book, honestly, and read through it. I wrote this at an 8th grade reading level, not because that's where people are at in their reading, but what I wanted was for everyone who picked up this book to be able to fly through it, get the material out they needed, and get back to studying. The point is not to study this book, right? The point is to use this book as a tool so you get to studying the material you need to. Now, we talked a little bit on your news program about different segments that I would like. Two of the main segments, of course, are going to be first-generation college students and veterans coming out of their enlistment who want to take on a STEM degree.
Right. And I mean, so when you say STEM, are we talking about a plant? What are we talking about, right?
Yes.
I feel like some of our viewers might hear the word STEM and not instantly think of the meaning behind it. So what exactly is STEM before we get into kind of the degree aspect of it?
Certainly. And that is a good question. I've received that as well before. So when we say STEM, this is science, technology, engineering, and math. And this acronym actually came out in about 2001. The National Science Foundation was doing their decadal studies looking ahead and saw we had the shortage. So originally the acronym was SMET, S-M-E-T. It doesn't quite have the same ring. So they rearranged it to STEM. And so this acronym has been in use since 2001.
Right. And I mean, it sounds a lot better. STEM, it correlates with a plant
Sort of that
growing,
base, right?
base.
That foundation. Yep.
So I kind of like that better than
SMET.
Yeah. So when you talk about you talk about science, technology, what degrees are we talking about here? What is this? I know there's a big difference between a fine arts degree and any degree in STEM. So what degrees are we talking about here?
Sure. So first, please know I am not thumping on any degrees that are not STEM. All right. There at some point I will walk you all through my history, which is way too long. But my first degree was international business, and then my first master's was in theology. I went to divinity school. So I have some compare and contrast in my background.
A little bit of everything.
Little bit of everything, yes. And parents, don't worry. I'm not telling your students to do that in this book. Okay. I am encouraging them to get through and get on with their careers. But STEM is going to be any of the sciences, so your geology, your biology, zoology, physics, chemistry, any of the sciences.
Right.
And I will say as a quick note, if you are looking at a pure science degree for your 4-year degree, plan on obtaining a master's as well. It's not absolutely required, but it is something that is generally expected in the workforce. You won't need to go on and earn a PhD if you don't want to, but you will need to plan on, if you're doing a pure science degree, to earn a master's. Engineering, which is the E, of course, is going to be, oh my goodness, there are all manner of engineering programs out there.
Right.
In particular, I'm a petroleum and a geological engineer. I have degrees in both of those. Again, I'm not encouraging anybody else go on and earn 5 degrees like I did. Then you have your mechanical engineers. I work with a number of mechanical engineers. We call them the liberal artists of the engineering world because they do a little bit of everything.
Right.
And of course, civil, chemical, biological. So you can, if you get on and look at all the different engineering programs, it's a tremendous number out there. And then of course mathematics. Everybody loves mathematicians. You are deeply needed. So if you like math, please do consider earning a math degree. We need those too.
Yep. And no, I mean, you mentioned all these engineering degrees, and it sounded like college to me just because I come from a primarily engineer heavy college, University of Illinois.
Yes.
Which is
You know all of them.
You said mechanical, and I was like, all right, which one of my friends are we talking about?
Right, exactly.
But going back to the book, I mean, how long did it take you to kind of write it?
Mm-hmm.
How long was the process?
It depends on where you put that start point.
Okay.
So when I first started back to school, I had to really observe from my friends. You can tell who the smart kids are in class, and you just have to set your ego aside, right, and start asking questions. How do I do this?
Right.
And so in some regards, that would be the start point, because that's really when I started my own research on how to study for a STEM degree. I also started at Montana Tech. I started in 2010, and after I had a few semesters under my belt, was asked to do a basic training on how to put a binder together. And the reason is because we had a number of students who came from foreign countries that didn't have the system just isn't the same around the world.
Right.
And so how do you stay organized? And there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of homework, quizzes, exams, auxiliary handouts. So I just did a fundamental training on how do you set up your binder, which is also in this book. And from there, then I started mentoring. Students would come to me and ask me to do academic coaching and mentoring. And then when I was at South Dakota School of Mines, one of the things I did was put together actual workshops. And so the university paid me to put on a workshop. They run for 2 hours. And it's open to 30 students, because I like to keep it fairly tight so everybody can ask questions if they want to.
Right.
And how I arranged those was every 10 minutes I changed subjects. So there are 16 topics in here. Pick 9. Every 10 minutes I'd start on a new topic in here. So lickety split, moving fast. And then the last half hour of the workshop is what I would call a free-for-all. And because there are no professors in there are no parents in there, students can ask me any question they want to, and it's fair game. And I do that because why? Sometimes we're embarrassed to ask the questions. We're like, how do I get this to work, right?
Exactly, no. I relate to that 100%, so I get that. as a former student, right?
Yeah.
You do get afraid, and I've seen a lot of students, college students, and parents even get afraid to kind of ask those harder questions, just based off of looking less intelligent than
Absolutely.
But I mean, kind of going. When can people find this book? When is it going to be available to the public?
So very excited to let you know it's available now for pre-order. I learned all sorts of things in my publishing adventures. I used a professional publisher also, by the way, so I would like to give a shout out to Haley and her team at Onyx Publishing. They are out of the UK, and I will tell you, this is available around the globe. I even had someone show me their receipt from India where they bought it on their Kindle. So
no kidding.
Hungary, Estonia, Japan, Denmark, the UK, Canada, the United States, all over. So you can certainly go on Amazon.
Right.
And then it's also available through your independent bookstores. I know we like to support our independent booksellers as well. And it will be shipped out and in your mailbox on August 27th. So just in time for the fall semester.
That's so nice. And it's so good to hear, other those resources become available to those students that are just starting school as well. I know it's a very tough time. It can be a very difficult time to transition from that high school experience to that college experience. And I mean, when we're talking about that transition, when this book, if knowing that you wrote it and kind of helped curate this book. Let's say that this book was out when you were going to school. Would this book have helped you?
Yes.
A lot more.
It would have, because it took me the entirety of my petroleum engineering degree to really assemble the bulk of this material. And imagine if instead of having to spend 4 years to put it all together, if I'd had that on day one, right? And that's what I want for students. You can certainly learn this the hard way and learn it all for yourself. There's no doubt, right? These students are sharp students. But if you don't want to spend that time, here's the accelerator. Here's what's going to get it in your head, locked and loaded, ready to go this semester.
Gotcha. All right, and then as a kind of a recap here, just to let our viewers know, I've been kind of putting the book title there in case people are interested in, finding out more. Where can they find out more about the book, and also where can they? Is there pre-orders, or where can they kind of get the book?
The pre-orders are all available right now, so online, or you can request it, your independent bookseller, all available. And I'm hopeful that it will be available at South Dakota School of Mines bookstore.
Okay.
And then whether it's a high school student, and I should hit on that as well.
Yes.
So parents, if you have students who are 11th and 12th graders, this book is great for them because it will give them the mindset they need to get ready for college. If you're a freshman or a sophomore in college, it's not too late. I know you might be second guessing why you did what you did. I promise you this will help.
Right.
And so anyone in those ranges of studenthood, is that a word? I might have made that up. This would help serve them very much. Yes.
Well, that's good, especially like you said. You mentioned earlier in the live stream that it's back to school time, getting ready for that, either college or going into your senior year of high school.
Yes.
And then finally, kind of just wrapping up here. Is there, when it comes to the book itself, what other information can you kind of give us kind of regarding this that you haven't quite covered, even though we've covered a ton of topics here? But what's some other information that you kind of haven't been able to quite touch on yet?
Sure. So I talk a lot about health in this book. We have physical, mental, and spiritual health that we have to address. There's no way that you can go on and study the way that you need to study and absorb the volume of information you need to absorb if you're not taking care of your body, your brain, and your spirit. So I spend a lot of time on health. I also talk about building up your resume. I talk about what do you think you might want to do when you finish your college degree, because myself included, didn't really think about that until all of a sudden it was right here in front of my nose. So looking ahead, there are three main areas where you might want to go. Graduate school is one, maybe into the military or into the professional world, which of course could be which could be private industry, it could be a nonprofit, it could be the federal government. I talk about how do you dress for an interview, right? That's something.
That's something that often gets overlooked.
It does.
100%.
It does. And then it ends with the last chapter, which is one of my favorites, and I talk about business plan writing. And the reason is because at South Dakota School of Mines, we have a program called Engineers Make Great Entrepreneurs. And you go through and you learn how to write a business plan and put a business together.
Right.
Well, you can use those business plan principles for anything. You can use it if you want to go on and do research because you need to account for what is your budget, what is your timeline, who's going to support you in terms of personnel, what is your study topic, what's the market research, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so I talk about how you use this business plan mentality regardless of what your next decision is to go forward and be successful that way. And then the last piece, which is one of my favorites, this is the first that I'm actually talking about this. This hasn't been on any of my it's exclusive. It's exclusive. I am a huge reader, voracious reader.
Right.
And at the end of every chapter, I make book recommendations that support everything I've said in that chapter. And then at the end of the book, there's a list of all of the books in study habits where if you just start at the top and start working your way through, you will accumulate all of the mentorship that these authors basically have for you.
Oh, and that sounds awesome.
So it's a book list. Yes, it's a great book list for any aspiring professional.
And it's a good way to, add on to your library for those that love to read, love to kind of read, especially on the kind of the STEM aspect of it. And like you said, kind of add on to their library off of this book, which is amazing.
Thank you.
If only it would have come out sooner.
Right?
I'm telling you right now.
You and I both needed it, didn't we?
All right, and then kind of wrapping up here before we head out. Is there anything else that you'd like to add?
The one last piece that I want to share with you is I wrote this as a field manual,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband, actually, I give him full credit for this. He recommended, let me see, there we go. He recommended the design, and it's a worn field manual. So even when you show up and it's brand new, you're still going to look like a pro. You're still going to look like somebody who knew what they were doing. So it's a little faded, it's a little beaten up, and I did that on purpose so you don't show up looking brand new.
No, and I was gonna. That's one of the questions that slipped my mind. I was gonna ask about the artistic decision to make it look worn.
Yes, and that's why.
That is actually very unique.
My husband's a veteran, and I can assure you, all of his field manuals look beaten up.
Man.
So
I'll tell you one thing: if while you're studying, you bring this out, they'll know you mean business.
That's exactly right. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Scyller Borglum, for coming on this morning and kind of talking with us about your upcoming book here, STEM Study Habits, Successfully Navigate Math, Science, Engineering, and Life for Your Degree. Be sure to pick this up at some point, add it to your pre-order list, and be able to kind of help not only yourself, but also help kind of your friends, your family, whomever is in need of something like this. But with that being said, thank you again. I am this is, again, Dr. Scyller Borglum. And actually, before we do wrap up, if people are interested, where can they find more about you?
Oh, sure. So I'm on all the social media, not all the social medias, that's too much. I'm on LinkedIn is a great one. That's a fabulous site that I keep updated with professional, all of this you'll find on there. And then Instagram, I'm okay. Right. Facebook, I'm not bad at. And then I have yet to get onto TikTok. So the top three would be LinkedIn, Instagram, or Facebook.
All right, well, there you have it. If you ever want to find more information about Dr. Scyller Borglum, you head to her social media pages and learn a little bit more about her adventure and kind of what she does on a daily basis. With that being said, I am your host, Humberto Giles Sanchez. Thank you for joining us this morning. We'll catch you again on the first Friday of next month. For now, have a wonderful rest of your